Howdy folks, we're here to cut in the irrigation valve into the water line that feeds the pool. This is controlled by a valve up here, and it has an anti-siphon device. And it's got a union that I put in earlier when I had to replace this whole valve assembly. And it's got 3/4 inch PVC that goes into the deck and then out to the pool. We've also got the electric outlet here, and we're going to mount the irrigation timer on the wall near the valve so that I don't have to add any additional wiring between the solenoid of the valve and the timer. Now let's look at the supplies that we're going to need. We're going to need the irrigation valve itself, plus the 3/4 inch male threaded to 3/4 inch slip pipe adapters, 2 of them. We've got a short piece of 3/4 inch pipe. It's actually an old piece that I scrounged up because I forgot to buy a new piece. We're going to need another union to go at the bottom of this. We're going to need some Teflon joint tape to seal the joints here to prevent leakage. These threaded junctions do not seal themselves unless they've got Teflon tape in there or pipe dope, and I just use Teflon tape because it's neater. To make the junctions, the PVC to PVC junctions, I've got the purple primer, which cleans the pipe, and I've got the PVC cement. I've also got sandpaper because the pipe is painted the same color as the stucco in order to protect it from UV. The white PVC pipe does not do well long-term with UV and it can break down, so that's I'll paint it at the very end. We're going to install the timer, and as I said, it's going to go on the wall over here next to the valve assembly, and it goes on the wall with 3 screws. And then we're going to put on a weatherproofing box on top of to replace the cover for the outlet so that the timer can stay plugged in and protected from weather. Tools we'll need: I've got a giant giant water pump wrench. You probably don't have to use one like this, but sometimes they're helpful to open the unions there. Gonna need a hacksaw to cut the PVC pipe. We've got some screwdrivers just for general screwdrivering thing. A knife to cut things if we need. A Sharpie, always nice to mark things with. Gloves, because the purple primer and the cement are sort of messy. Safety glasses because we're going to be cutting stuff with a saw, and power drill with a Phillips bit to drive in the screws into the wall. All this is sitting on top of a giant piece of cardboard. Again, the cardboard is useful because the PVC cement and the primer are really sort of messy, and I don't want any purple stains on the deck after I'm finished. And I've also put a plastic bag around the pipe because I'm going to have to clean and glue the pipe at the end where I cut it. What we're going to do is we're going to put this guy in here, and we're going to make some marks. I've screwed in the adapters sort of hand tight so that they're at about the right place. The pipe is going to fit into about this portion of the fitting, so we're going to make our first cut here. Then the bottom of this fitting is here, and then we're going to put this union in as close as we can to the bottom of that fitting. And so that means that we're going to have to cut the main pipe off here. So we need to cut here, and we need to cut here to remove this section. So let's go and do that. It's nice to have the Sharpie to sort of mark around so that you have a target line. It's harder to cut a straight line freehand than it would seem to be. And so make a line all the way around, or just the way around. It's not quite level, but I'll get the top of that. All right, and I know that the water's off and this line is not pressurized. We're going to reuse this piece of pipe. So here we go. putting a little back pressure on the pipe opens up the gap to prevent it binding in the blade. Okay, so we're through there. And now we'll cut the lower part. Now what we'll do is we'll take our flat-bladed screwdriver and clean and deburr a little bit. Get rid of the burrs on the inside and the outside. All right. Okay, now we need to clean the pipe, and we'll use some of this flexi sandpaper. All right, folks, with the wonders of video editing, we've now cleaned the upper and lower portions of the 3/4 inch PVC pipe to get rid of the 2 coats of paint. Now we're going to start building the plumbing from the bottom on up. My reasoning being that I can adjust things if necessary by cutting this section here maybe a little bit shorter, or if necessary, simply replacing this section here. I can't do anything with this section. I don't want to make it any shorter than it has to be. So with each junction, you have to clean / prime both sides of the PVC parts, and then coat them with cement, and then jam them together. Now I've got the union here, which I'm going to put down here, and it's got one piece that has one piece, and it's got the second piece which has 2 pieces. Important thing to do is when you put these together is to not leave this piece out. So this is going to go down here, and then we're going to cement that into that. So I've put this piece down here, and I thought about it so that I'm not leaving it behind. Okay. Not that I've ever done that before. But if you do leave it behind, you cut here and then put in a coupler. But why do it twice if you can do the work once? Here's the cleaner primer, the purple. Clean and prime the pipe. It's basically acetone. And do the same thing here. Try not to get it on any of the bearing surfaces of the junction. And now I'm going to put the cement on. This is sometimes hard to open. I should have opened this in advance, but that's why you have the handy dandy water pump pliers. All right. Something else that works very well is to get these open as a vice grip. So coat the inside of the fitting with cement, and then the outside of the pipe, and you slide them together and have it go all the way home, and you hold for a little bit. 30 seconds is what they say, and I try to hold it for that, because what will happen is if you let go too early, the whole PVC coupling will rise up and separate itself. So next what we'll do is we're going to build this piece with the connection with the male adapter to the bottom of the irrigation valve. The irrigation valve has a polarity, an input side and an output side. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the valve, and it says flow this way. So we're going to take this piece out. And again, I've over tightened it a little bit, and the water pump pliers come in handy here. So take that apart. So we're going to build these together like that with that short little piece of PVC pipe. So we'll prime first the bottom part, and we're going to try to keep the primer and glue off of the face part, the union part. So primer. Primer, keeping it pointed down, and cement. Cement on the outside of the pipe, cement on the inside of the fitting. We've got some drips onto the cardboard, all good. Then put the two pieces together, and turn and hold. And just hold it and make sure it doesn't come apart. Now this may be a little bit long, this here, yes, it's just a little bit longer than I want it to be. I want it to be as short as I can make it. So with a Sharpie, handy Sharpie, I'm going to mark where I want to cut it here, and we're going to cut it off with a hacksaw. You can see me working down there, yes. Okay. Okay, and we're going to clean and deburr with the screwdriver. All right, so now let's put the threaded adapter part on that. Clean. Clean. And cement. And I'm having this end up so that any cement that's extra will not run into the face of the union. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to clean and prime this and glue the last adapter on the end of that. Then we'll take this apart and rebuild it on up. Okay, so we'll clean and prime it in place simply because it's easier. So clean. Clean this guy. Actually, before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this together and see if the stack height is correct. If everything is correct there. And if it is, then we can go ahead and put it all together. I might have to cut this off a little bit in order to get everything to fit together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Teflon tape on the threads here. And I'm putting it in the orientation so that when I tighten the fitting into tighten the adapter into the fitting, the screws will turn the Teflon tape in a non-binding way so that it sort of lubricates its way into the grooves and doesn't sort of ball up. So 2 or 3 turns of the Teflon tape around the adapter and then into the valve, into the outlet side of the valve. Okay, then this goes up here, and then, okay, so we are actually too short. So this sometimes happens. I'm about 1 inch too short, so I've overestimated the amount of pipe. So I'm going to have to pause and reconsider because... Howdy folks, I know where I went wrong. When I did my initial measuring, I marked the bottom of the fitting at the bottom here, and I did not mark the top of the pipe where the pipe goes into the fitting. So I decided to get another union and another adapter and do it right by extending the height of the pipe here. And I also got a new piece of 3/4 inch pipe. So what I need to do is I need to go up by this will probably screw into about there. So I need to have the pipe be this much longer, and then I need to have the depth of both fittings fit into, these are the same fittings, I hope. Depth of both fittings fit into this, and this part we will save out, and this pipe fitting goes to here. So we need a length of pipe that long. We'll cut that off and rebuild. So I had to run to Home Depot to get this extra union. So it's always a good idea to throw an extra spare part into your bag when you're buying the parts first time around, just in case. You can always return them, but you got a spare parts box that has lots and lots of extra parts, but not this one in particular. All right. So clean the ends of that pipe with my screwdriver. Okay. Now we will rebuild this with a longer segment in here. So clean and prime both ends. Here's clean. And the end without the slip nut is what we're going to be using. I'm going to clean it with the face up. And then we're going to glue. Actually didn't prime all the way around here. Okay. Then some glue. Again, the gasket face up so that we don't get any glue or primer on it. Okay, jam them together and hold. Now while we're holding, we can prime this guy. All right, nicely primed. Then prime this guy. This the back side a little bit. Okay. Now glue and glue. Press them together, seat them all the way down, give a little part turn, spread the glue, and hold. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy apart and take the incorrect adapter out. Again, water pump pliers come in very handy. And this, with the new part of the union, will go into my spare parts box because this could screw into an irrigation valve and couple on nicely. So not a complete waste of money. Now we'll put on the Teflon tape. And again, screwing it, turning it in the direction that this would be screwed into the fitting to keep the tape from binding. And two or three layers of tape. Easier to do this before I put the union together. And then put this on the output side of the valve. This is the inflow side. This is the output side. Unfortunately, I have the experience of knowing that things go faster the second time around you do them. And sometimes that's the way it is with home improvement projects. You you're cruising along and then you hit something, you make a mistake because you weren't paying attention, and that's just the way it is. All right, so we screw this in real good. Get that Teflon tape in there really good. All right, now let's see if the stack height is right. And sometimes you screw up, and happily I bought another union should I need it. Okay, so that actually looks like it could be good. Yes, it should have enough depth and enough screw. Yeah. All right. So we'll take this out. We'll clean and prime again. That's already been cleaned and primed, but the important thing is to get it sticky with the acetone. So we need to prime it again. So we've cleaned it, but now we'll re-prime. Now put some happy cements. And then push that on real tight. Hold it. Now we're going to break the connection up here and put it all together. Okay, so we'll put the Teflon tape onto this guy, and it screws in this way, so wrap the tape around this way. Put 2 or 3 turns. We want this solenoid to be facing the same way as the elbow eventually. So turn that on. All right, looks pretty darn good. Okay, we could make one more turn, but we're not going to. The enemy of good is better. Okay, so looks good. Height is right on both ends, so let's screw it together. Just do a little extra tightening with the water pump pliers, not too much. All right. Okay, so that's the plumbing done, and what we're going to do is take off all the stickers, the label, and now we're going to run the wiring to the timer box. So I don't have that much wire here, so we're going to put the timer box on it high enough that it's easy to get to, far enough out of the way so that you don't run into it. And the wires have to reach and not be too tight. So this looks like a good spot for it.